Welcome back to the Clutch Takes podcast, and we're going to jump right into it. So, Malkin basically came out and said that if they didn't trade Phil Kessel, they wanted him to be traded. Malkin, that is. So, basically, Malkin put an ultimatum on the Penguins saying, if Kessel is here, I want out. So, Evan, what do you think about that? Do you think the Penguins made the right decision?
I just feel like Malkin struggled last year, and he's trying to pin it on Kessel because it's kind of disrespectful on his part. Without Kessel, they wouldn't have had a back-to-back Stanley Cups, which hasn't been done in like 10 plus years. And I feel like it's just unfair to Kessel because he's a big part of their team, and he created the HBK line. And I don't know.
I also feel like since it was so public, every time a trade issue is public, the Penguins are automatically not going to get fair value for their player, or any team that has a player that public about it. So I didn't necessarily love the return that the Penguins got, because I feel like Malkin is going to have similar problems to Galchenyuk, although he is like the Russian connection, I guess. But at the same time, I feel like Malkin was upset with Kessel because maybe he was a puck hog or lazy, but Galchenyuk has similar qualities but isn't as good.
Well, yeah. I mean, Kessel, most of the time in his term with Pittsburgh, he carried his own line in the third line, and he honestly made whatever line he was on, he made them into a lethal line. Galchenyuk struggles to even carry himself, so I don't understand. So
Galchenyuk can't carry a line, no way.
No way he carries a line. So if they put him with he's a left wing center. So Gensel's already left wing with Crosby, and they're not going to switch that.
No, they're replacing Kessel with Galchenyuk. So Galchenyuk most likely will play with Malkin.
Yeah, and both of them playing. Galchenyuk with his term in Montreal and his short term with Arizona. He's been like a lazy player. He's talented, but he's lazy, and I don't think he'll play defense.
And Malkin, I can say something Malkin is not a defensive guru either. He's actually, honestly, at this point in his career, not a good defensive player. You can look at all his stats at advanced analytics. He's just not a good player, and he defensively, offensively, he's always been amazing. But I honestly think, I don't know, I think Pittsburgh should have went a different route and maybe acquire someone with a bit more defensive ability to let Malkin do his own thing.
Or also with Galchenyuk, he's not a pass-first player. He's a sniper, right? And Malkin's a sniper. So I thought at least they would have gotten, if they couldn't get a player of Kessel's caliber back, they shouldn't have least. Because with with Malkin and Crosby on the team, you're going to have to go for the Stanley Cup every year. So you're going to have to get a player that's be able to play with. You're not going to get a player that in Kessel's caliber. So if you're going to have to get a player to play with Malkin. Mm-hmm. And honestly, you should have gotten a playmaking wing. And
you don't have to go out and get a playmaking wing like Artemi Panarin. Yeah. But you need to get a playmaking wing that can fit in your top six. That's a legitimate top six player, because Malkin, this time, last year in the season, when Malkin was playing with guys who are not top six players like Aston Reese or Rust or other players that don't need the puck and will give Malkin the puck, he played better. And it's so that means you should give him a playmaker. Galchenyuk, he's not a Kessel, but he's going to want touches like Kessel. So I don't think this solves anything for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a cap dump. So, I mean, they got rid of Kessel's contract with a lesser contract of Galchenyuk.
Story of the summer.
So the only thing they honestly accomplished was get more cap space because of that Jack Johnson contract they have.
Well, they also got a prospect, but Pittsburgh, like you said, is always in win now mode. So they might even flip that prospect, or maybe every prospect that plays with Crosby turns out to be a good player. Maybe he makes the team, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's a project.
Well, it's kind of funny because their defense, they got rid of who? Mata.
Yeah.
And yeah, like they had a really bad defense last year, and Jack Johnson eats up a lot of their cap, so it kind of like, I guess, like the fall of Pittsburgh came down to a lot of bad contracts in the defensive end.
Jack Johnson, the only reason they signed him, right, is because he's buddies with Crosby.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep Crosby happy. And it's like Jack Johnson, and then they also acquired Eric Branson last year just to make a move, because it's like Jimmy Rutherford is like, oh, no one wants to trade with me? He just makes a trade, He's just one of those quick-fire GMs. And he's pulled off some good trades, but like sometimes he's too trigger-happy, and I don't like that for the Penguins. And, yeah, and Jack Johnson and Eric Branson, if that's a pairing, that's easily one of the worst defensive pairings in the entire NHL.
Yeah. And, well, it's not a Pittsburgh video, so we'll move on to the Leafs captaincy / Marner drama again. Well, there's talks of Leafs going to have a captain by this season coming up. And candidates is Tavares, Matthews, and Riley, and maybe Marner. Honestly, I think Marner lost it at this point.
Yeah, and the Leafs haven't had a captain since the Dion Phaneuf days, so I think it's honestly time for the Leafs to have a captain, because the captain is a very traditional thing in hockey, and I feel like it's a very honored thing. And with the organization of the Leafs, I feel like, there needs to be like a captain. Like, it's such a storied franchise that I feel like the Leafs like need a captain. What's your opinion?
I feel like there's like three candidates, like I said, Riley, Tavares, Matthews. I think all three could be good captains. I want to see, like, if I wanted to see one guy be the captain, it would be Morgan Riley, because he was the longest Leaf out of the roster right now. Well, longest, I don't know, like the best Leaf and the longest Leaf. And he's also shown like very good leadership throughout the years, even in the bad years. And even though Tavares is a good captain on the Islanders, he's only had 1 year. So, yeah. But also he's from Toronto, so it's kind of hard to decide. And also Matthews shows that he really wants it more than the other two. So, and also giving Matthews the captain, I feel like that would make sure that he's going to be there for the long run, not just 5 years.
I honestly feel like there's no really wrong pick out of like the candidates. Like, there's no pick that I feel like if they made that pick, then, the Leafs made the wrong decision. Like, Morgan Riley, everyone likes him in the team. He's been there the longest. He's a quality defenseman. And I don't see anything wrong with that pick. He has good leadership skills. Tavares is a former captain. He loves the city in Toronto, embraces it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, although he is new. And then Matthews, some would argue it'd be like a high-risk pick of his personality. But I honestly feel like he's developed into a different player, because before he was more timid and, he just scored and moved on. But now he's showing more enthusiasm with his goal scoring, and he's taking on a bigger leadership role. He said that, and he stepped up in the playoffs, and I think Matthews is ready for this. Like, he's embracing the stardom.
Also, a lot of people, like hockey fans, also like to get confused. Like, being the captain does not automatically make you the best player in the team.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And even though Matthews, people argue, is the best player on the team, and Marner, thinks he's the best player on the team, it's like it comes down to who's the most mature and has the best leadership skills, and that's not learned. That's like inbred to them. So,
and everyone says too, even if teams don't have a captain like labeled on the jersey, that people in a locker room will know like who the leader is. Like, they'll be like, all right, guys, we're gonna go in there and win, or all right, guys, we need to come together. Like, people know who that person is. Like, if people like outside of the candidates, because I'm pretty sure Tavares, Riley, and Matthews all wanted themselves. Like, if there was a vote like outside of those players, I feel like there would be like a distinct captain that the players would agree on.
Yeah, I would like like, I don't know. I don't think they can get it wrong, because I feel like they already know who the captain is, and they're obviously not going to tell us till it happens. And I can find examples of like teams naming captains that went wrong just because by their like statistics and how good they are. Like Pacioretty on Montreal, he's like the best forward, but he's not a good captain. He was like, people argue he's like the worst captain of Montreal. And also Joel Thornton was a captain, even though he's like top 15 of all time in points. He's like one of the greatest to play. He's like not a good captain, and he's like the best player. So like I said, like it's not always the best player.
And I feel like you said, is true. Like Marner ran himself out of the captain running, because with all this happening, you know, even if he signs, like people are saying, you know, there's going to be a bitter taste of Marner signing, because everyone knows it's not going to be a cheap contract no matter what. There's no hometown discount. This guy loves Toronto. That's out the window. That narrative has to go now. And the Leaf fans know that. Like, if this goes terribly south, like people thought that Leafs fans hated Nylander, Marner is going to be even more hated. So I feel like that would just, like, giving the captaincy to Marner would just be like a terrible thing, because Leaf fans would be all over Marner. And yeah, I don't even think you should think about that right now. He's already asking for high demands. This is not a demand he needs to ask right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to end off the captaincy talk, like it doesn't even matter, I guess, who they pick, because like even if they pick like say Tavares, like Riley and Matthews will get the assistant captains. So, I mean, they'll be a part of it, and they're not going to be missing out too much.
Yeah. And the Marner news, Marner was, you know, all these reports came out now, and people are saying that the reports came out now because training camp has just started. They came out the day before training camp, that Marner was offered a contract in June of around 11 mil over 7 or 8 years, and he turned it down because it was not Matthews' money, and he got longer term. And as you know, my opinion on this, I feel like it's ridiculous, and Marner needs to like reconsider things. He wants like other players trade off the team to make space for him. It's like Kyle Dubas is still put. He's acquired Nathan Horton, and he's had other players to put on LTIR to make space for him, and he's still not making enough room. He's squeezing the rag out of the Leafs for every drop of money they have. And I don't know, it's like you can say that it's his agent or his dad, but at the end of the day, Marner is a grown-ass man and can make his own decisions. So if he wanted to jump in and say, no, I'll stay for this much money, he would have done this by now. So part of the blame has to go to Marner, not just his dad and his agent.
I mean, I feel like his agent obviously has some part of the blame, but like, cause
he's a grown-ass man.
But I mean, like, why would his dad even be considered in talks with this? I mean, his dad's not playing.
Well, Nylander's dad was in it for Nylander.
I know. I just don't think, like, it's like they're not making the money. Marner is, so why? They shouldn't even be talking.
I don't know. It's helicopter parents.
Yeah. I feel like Marner, honestly, like, he obviously knows what's going on. He obviously, like, he's honestly making these demands. And, like, Barry and Riley, well, Barry and Muzzin needs to be signed next summer. Riley only has 3 more years.
The Leafs only have one defenseman under contract.
Yeah.
For next season.
Anderson is like he's not long term right now, and like they need to sign those players. So with Marner signing big contract like this, could honestly split this team up and be a mediocre team, and he doesn't realize that because he's too greedy.
Yeah, and like people were bringing up the point, if it's time to consider, like people wouldn't even think of this in the beginning if they thought that Marner would sign quickly. But obviously we're not quite yet getting to Nylander territory, with December 1st being a long time away. But we're getting to the point that, you know, it's training camp, and this is a part of the season you don't want to miss. This is where you form relationships with your teammates, get chemistry for the season. So, you know, you don't want Marner to miss any games. Like, that's bad. Like, we found that out with Nylander. So...
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure if I said this before. I probably did. But with Dubas, also it could come to account that he's a younger GM. Like, what is he, like one of the youngest GMs in the league?
Yeah.
So with the players asking for, like, young players on the Leafs team asking for so much money, like Marner, I feel like it has to come to account that it's just that Dubas doesn't have a backbone to, like, put his foot down. It's his team, and he hasn't said it yet.
Well, did you hear what Darcy Tucker said?
What?
Darcy Tucker basically said that if a player wants to stay there, he'll get it done.
Yeah, for example, the Lightning, they're so good right now. The GM of Steve Yzerman's like, he puts down, like, 8 point whatever, and then he says, I'm not going higher, not going lower. If you want to come, come. And Stamkos wanted to come, so he signed the contract. And Dubas is just playing this game with Marner, and Marner thinks he has the leverage because Dubas has not put his foot down.
Well, like, Kapanen and Johnsson are two really good young players. Obviously not to the stature of Marner, of being an elite player. But Johnsson and Kapanen, you notice, they signed deals like that. They signed it really fast because they don't want to go anywhere. They don't want any rumors. They just want to play their game. They want to stay in this team, and they sign at a cheap rate. They didn't be like, oh, I want this much money, I want that much money. And it's like, those are two players that it's like on a different team, they're easily top 6. So it's like, you know, they could have bartered for more, but they're staying with those cheap deals because they want to be part of the team. Like,
yeah.
Stars need to do this too. Like, they got to, like, realize, you know, the cap, people say cap percentage, like, you know, Crosby and Malkin deals or Kessel's deals. It's like, you don't compare them to them because, like, you know, Crosby would have a higher cap percentage back in the day because the cap was lower. But it's like, you compare cap percentages, and it's like Marner's cap percentage should not be anywhere close to Matthews. And, you know, Tavares has been doing this his whole career, making people's point totals go up.
Well, Kucherov, like, signed, a year or two ago? That's not that long ago, and he's making 9.5 or something like that. And he's, like, the best right winger in the league. People argue he's the best player in the league.
Best winger, period.
Yeah, best winger, period. And it's like, come on. Like, Marner's not better than Kucherov. Like, he needs to give his head a shake. And
Tavares' point total, to make that point, Tavares' point total only went up, like, 3 points from his last season when he played with the Islanders. And Marner's point total went up, like, 25 points. So Tavares is staying on a steady lane, and Marner is going way up. It's like, why do you think that is? It's like he's playing with Tavares.
Mm-hmm.
He had, like, Matthews was, like, you know, like, musical chairs, either playing with, like, Johnsson, Kapanen, Nylander was scuffling, so he wasn't the same player, Hyman, or occasionally, like, players that aren't as high caliber as Tavares. Like, Marner was, like, gift wrap for this contract.
Yeah. Well, I guess we got to move on. Werenski and Morissey, 2 defensemen, finally signed. Werenski got signed to a decently good deal with Columbus. And
3 years, 15 mil.
Yeah, it's not bad. Morissey got signed for 8 years because, you know, Winnipeg's, like, they got to keep someone on the D-core, so.
They're not getting this one away.
Yeah.
And Morissey is a good defenseman, honestly. I like him. He's an all-around defenseman.
Yeah, like, he's a top 4 defenseman for sure. And I don't know. I obviously Winnipeg lost a lot of players this year, but they're still a really good team. But with Werenski, I don't know. It's like Columbus lost Panarin, Duchesne, Dzingel, Bobrovsky. It's like you don't know where they're gonna go. So I don't know.
So wait, who do they still have on that defense now? They have Bufflin, Morissey, and is that it? Like, or they have
Poink.
Is there anyone from like Trouba and Myers are gone? But was there another guy, another big name, or no?
Sherratt went to Montreal.
Yeah, so like that defense looks different. I know they have prospects, but no.
I don't think it's like as bad as people think. Honestly, now that I think about it, I mean Trouba is a big hit, but I mean they got Poink back. Myers.
Well, Trouba, I feel like they kind of like, you know, it's one of those unfortunate things because it's like it feels like he really didn't want to be in Winnipeg. There's like, you know, they kept going after they'd had 2 bridge deals, and it's like it was just time to move on. But it's like unfortunate because I feel like Trouba is like a player you would want. He was just at his offensive peak, getting like 50 points now, and he's still like a two-way defenseman. So losing that sucks. But I feel like losing Tyler Myers wasn't as big of a deal. Like I'd rather have Morissey.
Yeah. When training camp begins, in which the RFAs are still not signed. We already talked about Marner, but like,
which RFAs will be there for opening night? Like, will Point sign? Like everyone thought. Like people saying like Point guaranteed that he's staying basically by not accepting any offers or talking to anyone. So it's like, why isn't he signed? Doesn't everyone's confused about that.
I think Point, Line A and Connor are gonna be signed. I think most of this RFA is gonna be signed. Like, I don't really see anybody going past, like, going into the season except for Marner.
I could see Line A.
Or maybe Line A because he like said he was gonna go play in Europe.
Somewhere.
Yeah. So I mean Line A and Marner, but everyone else like Kachuk and Connor, I feel like those guys are going to be signed.
I could see Connor getting done next, honestly. I don't think he has... I don't know why he isn't signed. Like, he doesn't have like the stature or leverage, I feel like, as the other guys.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he's the bottom of that list.
Yeah. Moving on to the NBA. AD and LeBron are making comments about each other. AD wants to win the Defensive Player of the Year, as well as LeBron. He wants LeBron to be in the all-defensive team, and everyone's making jokes about that, obviously. And LeBron wants AD to run the offense, and people's narrative of how LeBron's selfish, he cares about himself, is kind of thrown out the window now because he basically gave away his keys to AD.
Yeah, I feel like LeBron is honestly having a reality check, or not even like just a reality check, but like, well, kind of like actually a reality check because LeBron knows himself that he can't be his playoff LeBron all season long. He needs like a young, fresher player to carry the offense during the season, and it's like obviously he's going to go off in the playoffs.
Yeah, this is not 2012 LeBron anymore, and he knows it, so
he got to pace himself. Yeah,
and I also think he came to terms that, he went to LA for his business, and he knows that he can't really catch like Michael Jordan for his rings. I mean, he's going to try, but I mean, I feel like more now he's going to try and help others grow, like Anthony Davis.
And I feel like with LeBron, if he takes time off offense and he doesn't have to run the offense like he did last year, because LeBron said, yep, I'll let them run with it. I'll see if they can close, see if Kuzma, see if Lonzo, see if Ingram can close. And then they lost a lot of games in the beginning because of that. So LeBron's like, screw it, I got to close. So it's like LeBron had to be the closer. LeBron had to run the offense, run the plays, be like the point forward, point guard. And with AD there, it will take pressure off LeBron. So that means he won't have to go as hard on offense. So that means he can put more of his energy towards defense. Because he's at the point where it's like he can't be an elite player at both right in the season. He can be an elite player at both in the playoffs, not the season.
Yeah, and people saying that like Lakers, like people rating Lakers really low, doesn't make sense. I'm not even a Lakers fan. I actually don't like the Lakers. It's kind of ridiculous because like LeBron, Anthony Davis on the same team with like a core of like Danny Green, McGee, and just like the team they have around them is just like, I don't know. I can't see, like, also Kuzma is still on the team. I just don't see them going lower than a third seed. It just makes no sense. Like, I think they, as long as injuries doesn't, hurt them, they're going to be a very dominant team in the league. And yeah.
Well, with AD, LeBron healthy, that's like playoff team, no question. And it's like having those two players on a team is like you just want to get into the playoffs. I mean, obviously you want a good seed to have an easier route. But, I mean, like, LeBron has had different seeds his whole career. It's like he's an unorthodox player where it's not like if he has to be one or two. So any seed they get with LeBron and AD, they're going to have the chance to win any series.
And if people make the argument that Anthony Davis and LeBron only had one big injury, and that was last year. we don't know if he's gonna have it. He's not an injury-prone player.
No, he spends $2 million a year on his body.
Yeah, and Anthony Davis is an injury-prone player, but I mean, I guess you can make an argument for that. If Anthony Davis goes down for like 10 games, that could ruin their seeding. But people like to overhype Clippers though, and it's like, okay, I mean, Kawhi Leonard is like, he's gonna be taking a lot of rest days like last year. And
he's still doing that?
He probably will. Like 20 games out of the season.
Like you think he will?
Probably will.
That's ridiculous.
And I feel like in Paul George is like one of the most injury-prone players in the league. Like, come on.
Last year in the playoffs, he has like an ice pack on his shoulder. He's like, yeah, the shoulder feels good. He's holding an ice pack and like, elastic tape over his shoulder, like it's about to fall off.
So these like predictions and like these like odds makings make no sense, because it's like you can't make one argument for one team and not for the other, because like you can argue so much that like Kawhi and Paul George are not going to play a full 82 season next year.
And the Clippers, like you said before, they don't have a true playmaker.
Yeah.
So I feel like Kawhi is an ISO scorer, a great one at that. Paul George is not really a playmaker either, like more of a scorer. They're both amazing defensively, but I mean, like moving the rock, like, I feel like it might get frustrating a little bit for teammates because to play with them, because they're gonna hit their shots, they're gonna make the shots, but it might go stagnant a bunch of times because they need to pass the ball to get open looks.
I can see like the defense being amazing on that team. Like they can be like an Indiana or like a team like Indiana, like defensively. And I could see like they have like stagnant offensive like stretches where it's like no one's scoring, because it's going to be like very hard to score when like no one's passing.
Well, they're the elite players though, like they can still get buckets.
Yeah, but what if they don't have if they have an off night?
Yeah, it's
going to be very stagnant, and like especially players are going to be affected with like
Lou Will is going to want his touches.
Oh yeah. Don't get me started with him.
And ISO Joe is back in the league after coming off his Big 3 championship. Melo's still sitting on the bench waiting for a contract. I can't believe that. So ISO Joe is back with the Pistons, joining Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin, the number 1 team in the league 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And basically, like, ISO Joe was a great player back in the day. Derrick Rose was like a league MVP, and I wouldn't say Blake Griffin's washed, but like I don't think he has the bounce as he did when Lob City was there. So I don't know. Like I've said about the Pistons before, it's like they're just like screaming mediocre at me right now, and it's like this just adds to it. Like I just want them to like pull the plug, honestly. Like Andre Drummond is literally gonna walk away for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I can smell it. It's like you lose him. He said he's excited for free agency. If he was excited to re-sign with the Pistons, he would have re-upped by now. So it's like he's gone if you don't trade him.
Yeah, he's definitely gone unless they make a big move.
Yeah. I think they need to act on that, honestly, by the trade deadline. If they don't, like, even if they're in it, it's like you need to get something back for Drummond, because it's like Detroit is a market where you're not going to sign a player of a high caliber like Drummond, or like, you're going to get someone worse.
Oh.
So you need to get something back.
I think I made a trade proposal before that looked good, like Drummond and who else was it? I think it was like Drummond and Reggie Jackson or something. It was like to Golden State, and they get Cauley Stein and...
Well, we talked about that. D'Lo.
Yeah, D'Lo.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, we already talked about that, but I feel like a trade like that would work, like I said before. Team USA loses to France, and that's kind of embarrassing, and kind of proves our point about the Celtics, because basically Team USA is the Celtics, and they lost to a country that doesn't play basketball very much. That's kind of embarrassing.
They have like Fournier and Gobert.
Pretty much, and Celtics lost to that is kind of like, I don't know, it's just, that's embarrassing.
And they also have, like, Donovan Mitchell, Miles Turner, players that are supposed to take the next step.
Yeah. It kind of makes me kind of, like, take a step back on Donovan Mitchell. But also, it kind of shows, like, Celtics plus Donovan Mitchell. If the Celtics players couldn't get that done, it's, like, against France. How are they going to, respect that with, like...
NBA teams with all NBA players on them.
Exactly. So that's kind of like, and they also had a good coach. They had, Popovich. Popovich couldn't even get the Celtics to win. Who the fuck's gonna win? Like, and also, Greece loses to Brazil. Giannis still hasn't fixed his problem, and teams are now figuring him out. The Raptors did last playoffs, and now Brazil, for all of the teams, Brazil has figured it out. So, and Giannis is the best player in that tournament by far.
And everyone says, watch out until Giannis gets a jump shot. And,
we've been watching.
Yeah, we've been watching. And, like, teams are figuring him out. I mean, if Brazil can figure him out, then, I don't know. It's like, is Giannis gonna, like, regress a little bit during this year if teams game plan for him better? Because, I don't know. I feel like Giannis, he's in a good system with the Bucks. Like, can you maybe say a little bit, like, a hot take that he might be a system player? Like, I'm not denying his talent, but I mean, like, the way the Bucks are set up is perfect. Because it's like, he's a great driving player, and when he doesn't get his look, he sauces it out to players on the three-point line.
I mean, if you make it hard for him to make those passes, you clog those lanes and you clog the paint, he's stuck, and then he turns the ball over.
And then if you guard the people in the three-point line, it opens more room in the lanes and they can dunk. So it's like a perfect combination for him. It's just they didn't get it done this year because Kawhi went off.
Yeah, that's true. KD makes remarks. Basically, he's like forgetting about the past and looking towards the future. Makes comments about the Warriors and the Thunder, saying he was never like looked at as a Warrior, and he's also will never forgive the OKC how they treated him when he left. So I think KD also said Kyrie is his best friend in the NBA. So I think KD's ready to play, and I think he's going to come back for sure now. Like, I think he'll be back, and he's going to be ready to play. So the Nets are going to be a good team.
Not this year, though.
I know, but I just feel like they're both motivated. So as long as KD's back normal, like, watch out for the Nets. They're going to be, like, running the East for the next couple of years.
Well, and KD and Kyrie is honestly, like, how they're close friends? It's kind of like a funny friendship because they're kind of the same in a way. Like, they're both, like, misunderstood players that have really high skill. Kyrie, it's like he's had a lot of problems on the Celtics. He had problems playing with LeBron eventually. And it's like two misunderstood players coming together. It's like maybe they make a positive, two negatives making a positive. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just think that it's a really good duo, and I think it'll work out. Lastly, moving on, I'd like to talk about the Rockets and how their owner has said this is their championship window, as everyone thought it was closing before Russell Westbrook was acquired, as Chris Paul was aging and clearly declining and having beef with James Harden, and they finally moved off from that. So now with having Westbrook for 3-4 more years and James Harden under contract, they have like a 3-4 year window with them under contract to win the title. And I'm not sure if it'll happen this year with the teams like both the LA teams with the Lakers and Clippers, but they might have a chance.
I mean, yeah. I mean, no one thought the Raptors had a chance, and they won. But, I mean, I feel like the Rockets have so many competitors now, and I think this year and next year should be like their window, because 4 years down the line, with how Westbrook plays, I don't think Westbrook can keep it up. He's already been shown to regress because he's such an athletic player, and like athletic players is shown to like regress as their age, as they get older. So I feel like they should like look to win in the next year or two, because I don't think you can trust like a Westbrook that's like 34, his mid 30s, to like play as he is now. And also Harden's also made a new move with his one leg. I don't know. I feel like Rockets are gonna be a really fun team to watch, and they're just gonna have a lot of fun. I don't think like it's gonna end up like it did with Chris Paul, because like I think Harden and Westbrook are such good friends, and they're like, I don't know. I just feel like it's gonna end, even if they don't win, they're gonna have a lot of fun doing it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see this duo. I feel like they're both really exciting players, love them or hate them. And they're going to shoot a lot of threes like usual. Russell Westbrook and James Harden are going to bring the energy, obviously, just how they are. And I don't know, a part of me says, like, I really like this duo, and I think it'll work out more than most people, because I feel like you have the ball in Russell Westbrook's hands, and you can kick it out to James Harden, because Russell Westbrook is really amazing at driving. But I just feel like this team is one more piece away, and I don't know. I feel like I don't know how they get that piece, but I feel like they're one piece away.
Yeah, and like their core around them, like I don't know if it's good enough. Capella, I don't know if he's like as good as people think he's gonna like become.
And then you have like Tucker and Gordon.
Yeah. And Rivers. And Green.
And Freed.
Okay,
We're
yeah.
naming their whole roster.
Okay, yeah. But I don't know. I feel like, honestly, I could see like next year, Rockets could be like a first or second seed, just because I could see them being a really healthy team, and I could see them.
They're deep.
And they're deep. And I could just see Rockets being a really good season team. But I just think in the playoffs, I don't like with Harden how he plays in the playoffs. Like I watched the playoffs last year when he played Utah, even though they won. Harden went for like 0 for 16 in like the first 3 quarters of a game one time, and that's like you can't expect that from like your best player.
And Russell Westbrook isn't necessarily the best playoff performer either.
Yeah.
He had a terrible playoffs too.
So I can see him being a really good season player, a season team, and being a first or second seed in the West. But I just don't see them making through the playoffs. Like with Clippers, Lakers, Warriors, Nuggets. Like Nuggets are looking really good. Like young, and they're going to get better next year. Jokic.
A lot of competition.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for listening to the Clutch Takes podcast. We'll be sure to make more videos soon, as we have a bunch of videos in the works already. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you guys next time.